good. Look like the positioning is good. To check, make sure it's live on my computer. Then once we do that, we can start.
Is this water?
Is that, wait, whose is that? Oh, I thought that was just found there. I thought that was just sitting there like randomly. I was gonna say, this is crazy.
You're right. You're right.
Alright. Okay, cool. Let me listen. Let me make sure you can hear us good.
So you on the live right now? It is crazy.
So the camera is a little foggy, like you said, but I think we could just roll. Okay,
Your screen's a little dirty.
Foggy, like you said. The camera is a little foggy, like you said. So you can hear me. You can hear me clear. So as long as we project like that, then we should be good, right? First, so we got somebody joining in now. Let us know if you can hear us clear and all that, and then we about to get rolling, y'all. So, all right. So I'm gonna sit my computer here just to watch the comments come in, because people. The thing I like about live is people get to like comment if they want to make donations and like live. Somebody said hello, everyone. So that's what I like about being live. So.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Feel free to let us know if you can hear us or you can't hear us. So, okay, they said they can hear. All right, cool. And the cool thing is,
Can they hear me?
all right, I'm gonna wait. And then the cool thing about it, and we can take questions and stuff like that. So that's what I like about being live.
Fun. Okay.
Well, here.
Let's
All right, let's do
go.
it. Yeah, let's start.
Or do you
Let's
wanna
go.
wait?
No, we can go right now. Let's
It's
go.
up to you.
Make sure y'all like this video and make sure y'all subscribe.
Like and subscribe. This is Real Estate Rap, Season 2, Episode 1, in our new location. With our new format, we're going live video instead of, we were recently at the Warren Recording Studios, the East Warren Studios, but they are no longer able to have us record there, so we had an opportunity to start over with a completely new format. So
With our new producer,
yeah,
Trey Little.
Trey Little behind the camera, audio, everything. Produced by Trey Little.
I just set up and just go. I mean, it shows that like there's no excuses of why you can't do this. It's like get a phone, microphone, you set up and you just go. I mean, that's really how I like to do it, you know.
The
So.
lobby.
A lobby, we got a little overhead music.
Fun fact, so I pulled up on the west side of Detroit, and it was so much going on in this neighborhood, and I set my phone up and I set the microphone up and I just started recording, and it was kids crying in the background. Like, you couldn't hear it loud, but you can hear the subtle noises. A clip of that just did 100,000 views on my Instagram page, and I set it up just like this. So
I think people like authenticity.
yeah.
And this reminds me of, it's kind of an anniversary for us because our first episode we recorded in, I believe, September of last year.
Really?
So just about a year ago.
Wow.
And
Wow.
we did 7 episodes last season. And we
Sheesh.
had our first guest last season, Dolores McKinney, who I think we have an update on what she's doing today. I think that was mentioned. But we sat down. This whole concept came from the 3 of us sitting down in a coffee shop. And that's why, to me, this feels more like how we should be doing this show.
Yeah.
Or this podcast.
Yeah.
It's authentic.
Yeah, sitting down around the table with a cup of coffee, sharing our real estate journeys together, because that's how it all started. And one thing that started from this was Trey's Buy the Block project, which we updated on most episodes last season. So I know a lot has happened over the last 2 months since we last recorded. So Trey, why don't you bring everybody up to speed on
Man,
where Buy the Block is going
it's been
and where you're
yeah.
going.
It's been wild. Like, I didn't expect stuff to start picking up so fast. But I want to preface, like, number one, the foundation was everything we started with the podcast, right? Being next to y'all two the whole time. And if you go back and watch episode 1 or listen to episode 1, it was like a progression, and we documented everything over time. So it's like Brian hit me up every day, reminding me like, hey, what's next? And then Ellen, like, anytime I bring her an idea, it's like, well, how is this going to work? Like, you got these dreams, but how can we solidify this and make this possible? So it was like the combination of both, and then y'all kept pouring into me, and that's how I got to this point. So I can't remember where we was at 2 months ago. What was
2 months ago, I think you had just had your meeting with the city. You just closed
Wow.
on the property.
Yeah.
Wow.
It took 5 months to close.
Yeah.
It's slow.
So I had just closed. So now, like, I'm interviewing for Capital Impact, which is a program to help minorities basically get into real estate and development with new construction. They told me in the interview process yesterday that, like, they don't want me to just focus on single family. They want me to focus on commercial property all the way up to 40 unit apartments. And they said it'll be $5 to $10 million deals. This is the kind of stuff that we want to prepare you for, to give you access to loans and grants. And I was just like, wow, this is crazy. This is everything that I need. So then that happened. I just made it to the final stage. It was 3 interviews. I'm like, how many stages they got, right? But everything went well. I believe that they liked me. And then I'm, doing today's podcast, and I got another one. Then a Fox 2 interview tomorrow. Then Big Sean is coming to the block. I'm gonna say that again. Big Sean is coming to the block Saturday. I just found out I'm performing at 12 o'clock. So for the people that's asking me, 12 o'clock I'm performing on Saturday. And it's gonna be huge, like big, no pun intended, right? So he's coming to the area that I'm developing when a lot of people was like, oh yeah, we don't see the vision. So he invested, according to the mayor's office, $500,000 into the Boys and Girls Club. And then him coming there, I'm gonna take a lot of content and kind of make videos about him coming there and bringing that exposure and tie that into what I'm doing. Because it's gonna be flooded over there. There's gonna be so many people. So that's huge. And then I got the shirts that people are buying, and people are really supporting all over the country now, which is crazy because it's starting to happen so fast. And like, it really shows that, like, I'm not the traditional developer. It all started with me just taking steps and doing. I didn't know nothing but that I wanted to buy property. And over time, people, they love that because it's like they feel like they can relate to me. And that's what it's starting off as. And that's the support that I'm getting from the people. We are doing this all together, the community that follow me. So that's where we are now.
Yeah. The Big Sean event is going to be massive for you. You're going to perform.
Do you know where?
Yeah. So it's at the Boys and Girls Club on, I think it's Elmhurst, but the information, I'll link it. So it's right. So it's like Potowski. It's like right by where By the Block is on Tuxedo and Dexter. So the Boys and Girls Club in that area. So it's gonna be huge. I'm doing like 3 songs. I'm doing the By the Block song. I'm doing my Hellcat song because I mentioned Big Sean in the song like a year ago. And then I got the song Warzone that was about growing up in the neighborhood. So all 3 songs are very strategic. So
Yeah.
3 songs. That's a mini concert.
yeah.
And then is Big Sean performing?
So I think he doing a speech because I thought about it. If he do perform, I think the whole neighborhood, it'll be chaotic. So it got to be one of those things where he talk for a minute and then he get out of there because, yeah, performing and like it'll be nuts. I think, yeah, it'll get shut down quick. It'll be too much going on. So
Well, so for people who don't know where that neighborhood is, can you give like a general area where the neighborhood is? It Dexter, Linwood?
yeah,
What's the neighborhood?
it's like Dexter, Davison, Linwood area. So yeah,
You get off at Webb if you're taking the lodge.
yeah.
West.
I think so. Y'all know the coordinates way better than I do. I grew up on navigation and GPS. So
Well, when I drive over there, I notice, not so much yet on your streets, but if you go a few blocks away, stuff's going on. There's renovations happening. Well, even on a few of the houses on your street and around the corner, new roofs are going up, new windows are going in. Dolores isn't far from there, and Arden Park is close by.
Yeah.
Austin Edison is on the other side of the highway.
Right, see?
Everything is just
wait. So we was
pressing into your block.
we was driving and she told me like, hey, like, look at the freeway. Did you notice that one side is different than the other side? And I never knew that. There's little tips like that. Like that you just said it.
Look
That's
at
like
375. Talk about that.
That's
freeway.
crazy.
That was, so 375, we could segue into Julio's project.
Julio's, yeah.
Because,
I don't know much about Julio's project, but is that the Petit Bateau
It is
development?
Petit Bateau. His
Oh,
name
nice.
is Julio Bateau, and he is developing a big project right behind the DIA. So that'd be the east side of Midtown, and right now he's got a hole in the ground, and as they were starting their excavation, they found an old church buried underground there.
What?
So they used to implode these buildings, and they would go down this way, and then they would just cover them.
Oh.
And you've got a basement foundation and a first floor foundation, even, plus bricks, beautiful bricks. So they'll save the bricks for
So what,
reclaiming.
They pull all that debris out?
They got to get it all out. They got to clean it because it's carcinogenic,
Yeah.
the cement and stuff. So yeah, they'll pull that out, and then they got to bring new fill. But what he did is he orchestrated an event last weekend where he brought in the church of the same name. It's
Amy.
AME Bethel.
Mm-hmm.
And we started at the church, a group of people, and we had a procession, a silent procession, carrying roses over to the site. And then we sat under a tent, listened to people from the mayor's office, from Wayne County Executive Office, from the planning office of Detroit, and Julio said some words, not much, 'cause he's not one to be the center of attention. But it was, and then they brought in a historian. The city of Detroit has their own historian who just kept telling stories about that neighborhood, which used to be Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. But yeah, we all know that, Jewish people get pushed out first, right? And then the black people come in, and the black people get pushed out. And now hopefully things will go back to some kind of normalcy. And there's going to be over 100 apartments there, and retail on the bottom. And my office, Remax Commercial Connection, is looking for retailers. And you don't have to be a huge retailer to get some presence in what's going to be a very prominent location. It's directly across from Peck Park. It's a beautiful park. And Julio's plan is to liven that park and have concerts and stuff for people to do regularly. And that street that goes perpendicular to the project and to the park dead ends right there.
Right on his project?
Right at his project, right in the corner. So it's a really good place to have some outdoor cafes. I've already got a bodega going into the bar. If you have a small boutique, I think that would be a great location. There is nothing in that area retail-wise. So it's a good place to create your footprint if you want one. And it's not going to be done until probably 2025, so you don't even have to start paying for it. We just need an informal commitment. So
Yeah.
call.
That sounds like a fun project.
It's
Exciting.
It is.
150 units?
no, like 105.
105 units?
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
The rendering of it looked nice too, and I like how he connected the history into it. And then even with the historian, like you was talking about, the fact that somebody in the city is doing it, that guy, funny, like relatable, and like, man, it was good. I'm sitting there just like, wow, the way he was just spitting it out, it was just crazy. So I'm glad the city got somebody like that, because he loves it. You could tell that's all he does,
I think I've seen it before. Remember the Real Estate Association of
Yeah.
Developers we go to? That guy is spoken.
Wizard. That guy is a wizard.
He is. Yes.
Yeah. I have not met him yet, so
Yeah.
I'll have to make that happen. Well, I'm just thinking about all the projects you guys are working on, and one thing we talked about is your project's moving a little bit slow. It took 5 months to close. Some of the other projects Ellen is working on are taking time. I'm working on a market that in Jefferson Chalmers, it's going on year 3 of development and reconstruction. It was like every time we pulled down a layer on the inside, it exposed 5 other expensive problems.
Man.
I joke about it. It has, when it opens, we'll be able to say that we survived a pandemic, a flood, no joke, Jefferson Chalmers flood happened. We could get another one if it takes any longer. It rained a lot last night. A flood, a pandemic, an economic recession, but it's still moving forward, and I think that's the most important part about all the projects that we're working on. And they're more of a reflection of the times we're in versus if this was 4 years ago, these projects would have been cranked out because we had the labor force, we had the money, and we had, the people to do the work. I guess that's the labor force, but
Well,
and the motivation. Now things are just a little bit slower. Oh, I'm sorry. We also had the financing was cheap.
Right.
It was almost free money.
Wow.
Can't do that anymore.
I got an SBA
In 2020,
loan
right?
for like 3%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've
It's
got two
crazy.
large acquisitions I'm working on, and the financing is coming from the SBA. Because they can give people not only money for acquisition, but construction, your furniture, fixtures, and equipment, so everything you need interior-wise, and your startup for your business. And you only need 10% of money in the bank for your reserves, so
That's great.
it's a very ambitious product, but the reality is construction costs still continue to get higher.
They're not going down.
Contractors are actually kind of busier, and they're dropping out. Like Julio lost his major contractor last week, and then the rates are higher, so everything's more expensive. So all these projects are have been on a tenacious roadmap to success that is very slow. You just have to be really patient.
Yeah. Well, the market, it'll be Neighborhood Grocery in Jefferson Chalmers. It's supposed to open in September. And it's Raphael Wright. It's his vision. And I think he has a long-term vision to have more locations. But it's his answer to combat food insecurity inside the neighborhoods of the city of Detroit. Downtown Detroit, you can go to Meijer, you can go to Whole Foods, but if you go into the neighborhoods, you go to a liquor store and you get Doritos and Pepsi.
Hot Cheetos, Hot Pockets,
Well,
yeah.
You get
there's
Hot Pockets and old hot dogs that have been sitting in a case for a couple
Yeah,
days.
fair.
Like,
there is
that's
a
the alternative.
female developer I know who's doing a corner store in North End.
Yes.
So sir,
It's happening.
it's going to happen. It's just
Yeah.
going to be another slow walk as more of these neighborhoods get them.
Yeah.
It's just,
And the neighborhoods have to support them because the markup on food is very cheap. They're going to make all their money off beer and wine, and things like that. But that's kind of counterintuitive to what they have, what they are trying to accomplish, which is to provide healthy food in the community. So that'll be counterbalanced with, fresh produce and fresh meat. Things that, and in Jefferson Chalmers, it's very interesting, like the bus line only goes down a couple streets. From Jefferson to the river is over a mile, and you have a lot of senior citizens in that community. So he's also going to deliver food in the neighborhood as well.
Wow.
He's just going to have to be flexible and meet the needs of the neighborhood. And I think he's on a really good path to do that.
well,
We just
speaking
gotta get him
of commercial stuff, Dolores, Garden Park, she is now on a mission to start doing a commercial hub. Which,
Oh.
yeah, should be first time she's on a mission.
We should have her come back for an update.
Yeah, not
And
yet. We're
season
still
two,
working on putting
yeah.
some deals together for her. So-
What about Julia? That'd be fun.
Julia?
I know. I just wonder about his temperament.
Yeah, I like it though. That's the one thing I like about him
Is he
because
gritty? I'd love to have someone gritty. on
oh
here.
man, he do not like, and that's one thing you kind of told me. You kind of like, you almost like role play like investor for a minute because someone like him, which I would consider like a mentor, he holds no punches when we talk. Like he holds no punches. He's just like, hey man, like tear it down. Like I don't see the vision. I'm like, wait, okay, all right, well, cool, like. So he's one of those people that's just like,
Oh,
hey.
yeah.
So, but it showed me how to be on my toes so good because I trust him enough. Like we talking about the development that he's doing, and I'm seeing it. People like Dolores as well, right? She's a lot more sweet, but she's still like the balance of get it done, straightforwardness, and to be surrounded by like all these different projects and meeting people like on a commercial side, which you're, everything that you do, introducing me to this, showing how long that things can be sometimes, but it's about the progress and things that's happening in the middle and continue to go, like you said with the grocery store. So just seeing all this and being surrounded by it all, like it's a lot, and I think people can learn from it, and I've learned a lot from it.
Yeah, I got a call today, a random call from a I suspect he's a young man, who found me, he Googled me. All he Googled was commercial real estate Detroit, and somehow got me.
Yeah.
Somehow, I
That's what I be trying to tell her. Like, nah, look, it ain't no coincidence. You doing it out here. So
you have to be out there doing the work. You're out there doing the work.
You
So
gotta
of
do
course
it.
you're
You
the
gotta
number one
dig in.
search result.
yeah.
Well,
You can try and trick Google. You can only trick Google.
he didn't
Oh,
have
yeah.
anybody to help him, and that's what he wants. And I said, "Yeah, come and we'll talk. That's perfect." So we should tell them about what we're doing on September 21st down at the Marriott for the Michigan
Ooh.
Association of Realtors Convention this year.
Yeah, so through Ellen, I got invited to speak at a educational seminar for commercial and residential agents, which is crazy because I'm still trying to get my license. It's one of them things where, like, I told Ellen, like, if it take me 10 times, I'm not gonna feel like, oh, I'm not smart or I can't do this. It's like, all right, it's done, right? So, I mean, it's one of them things in the conversation. When stuff come up because of my education that I got in the class, I pretty much know everything that I need to know. But
No, you know more than
Yeah.
you need to know, and that's the problem.
yeah, it's crazy. So like we getting like this opportunity to speak, and when I looked at the roster, it's a lot of people that I'm like, wow, like this person speaking there, and then we speaking there as well. So
Well, and the mayor,
okay, yeah,
Mayor
okay,
Duggan will be there, and yeah, our whole push is that you just don't go from selling homes to selling commercial real estate because it's
Do not.
just a different animal
It
by,
is completely different.
yeah, leaps and bounds different.
I think that should go for contractors as well. Contractors can't go from single-family housing to commercial either,
Right.
because it is different. The code, building codes are different. The requirements are different. Funding is different. Everything's different.
Well, and I've got a client who's trying to get a builder's license. This is somebody with 2 master's degrees, and she was struggling with the test. It turns out that the test has a 17% pass rate.
woo,
She said you literally have
It's
got
set up
to
for you to
have
fail.
built built a building to understand the questions, and they're not what they teach you in classes. So there's some suspicion that they were trying to weed out contractors. I can't imagine why. We were short contractors just a few years ago. I don't know if the trades, do they get their licenses typically, or they just work under a
Well,
GC?
no, you have to, plumbers, HVAC, electrical, they all have to be licensed. But you can work under a licensed person as long as that licensed person is checking the work. They have to check the work. So a licensed electrician can have an assistant or an apprentice that doesn't have to be licensed yet, but their work has to be overseen by a licensee. Just like a real estate broker, you could have somebody do your marketing or whatever else, but ultimately everything, or a salesperson has to be licensed. Everything's going to fall back on the person with the license. So.
Right, okay. Well, anyway, that's kind of, I don't know if that's what's happening with the real estate licensing exam, because I know Trey will ask me questions, and I took that test back in 2004, no problems, and, I got my broker's license in 2015 with no problems, but I'm looking at these questions going, I don't remember these questions, and
You have to know a lot. You have to know a little bit about a lot of different categories. You have to know a little bit about commercial. You have to know a little bit
Yeah.
about residential. You have to know a little bit about title companies, a little bit about financing. You know a lot about what Ellen's been teaching you with commercial. So you know a lot about one of the categories versus a little bit about a lot of different categories.
yeah, and somebody.
That's not necessarily, set up for people
well,
that.
which is why the Commercial Board of Realtors, which I now sit on, is trying to get the state to have 2 tracks.
Yeah.
which they,
A commercial and a residential.
yeah,
sure.
reasonably should. So that's why Trey and I are going to impress upon people that they resist that at the state. They don't want to administrate it, so you really got to let people know. And also, the commercial board will be providing Con Ed at the convention this year, so they can get commercial, continuing education courses, and not miss an opportunity to learn.
So you guys are presenting at the event on September 21st?
Yeah, it's a 3-day event, 20th through the 22nd, but we're the 21st.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
It'll be good a warm up for TEDx.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that too. I got the TEDx coming up too. Just got off a phone call with them, so yeah, it's so much. That's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Fun.
Huge.
It's gonna be fun.
It's crazy. That's big.
Share your whole story about By the Block.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, how you just got notoriety on TikTok by putting yourself out there and doing something. Instead of sitting on the sidelines talking, you're
Yeah.
out there actually doing something. And I can't stress that enough for anyone watching or listening who wants to get into real estate in any form, investment, flipping houses, rental properties, being a broker. Just get off your butt and do something. Go out there, get the book, start taking the test if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to start flipping houses, buy a cheap house. I look at it as tuition. What you're doing right now, By the Block, that project that you bought, is tuition money. That's why I don't necessarily agree with people like Julio or other people who say tear it down. No,
Yeah.
there are so many learning opportunities in that house for you that are cheap learning opportunities versus buying a $250,000 house that's going to have expensive fixes to
Yeah.
it. So,
Well, it's also a way to encourage people to understand that Detroit is changing.
yeah.
With people working in these neighborhoods, I know 2 contractors heavily involved in Dexter Linwood that are recycling homes. And this is an opportunity. And I think last week at Cranes, it said, the rest of the country thinks that we're still this, murder capital and that our crime rate's, bad and we're not really thriving. Well, we are thriving.
Yeah, yeah.
You just have to have been here long enough to see it. It's clear.
Yeah, you can't just come in, take a tour, and be like, oh, this looks terrible, and drive away.
Or pedal a bike with drinking beer down
Yeah,
the streets
ride a
of
bike down a
Detroit.
burned out street and say this is Detroit, because that's not what it is.
Yeah. You got to connect with the people that's actually doing stuff and get alongside it and go through. People hit me up when they come to the city all the time, like, hey, can you show me around? So I think, that's one of the big things, getting with people in, whatever city, And one thing you said is, doing the work. That's one thing that I want to, let people know and leave people with, because one of the questions that I ask myself is that, okay, I want to build generational wealth. I want to be able to break the poverty of the cycle of poverty. How do I do that? Who are the richest people in the world and why? They start a business, they get in stocks or crypto and real estate. It's either one of those 3, 2, or all 3. So I built the business. I got really good at crypto, made some good money in crypto, and then real estate was the last one, and I had no idea how to get started. And I kept it in the front of my mind, when I meet somebody who's good at real estate, I'm gonna ask them questions and I'm gonna get around them. So I started doing the work, like you said, and then I met Ellen, and I was like, hey, what would it take for me to just be around you to learn how to do these deals or how to buy property? So I didn't know, I couldn't just go buy a property, but I got around somebody who could open up the door and share those resources. So when I found opportunity, I think I had to wait a year, right? Wasn't it a year or something? And I was kind of irritated, a year, what, or something like that. And then you said, hey, go take this class. Boom. I put up $400 and some and was like, all right, I'll take the class. If that's what she said, At that time, I didn't want to put that money up, but I did it. I didn't really have much, but I'm it was an investment that I knew, okay, if I do this, it'll open up doors, so, and it's paying off, so.
2-step, 3-step.
Keep moving
And one thing I do want to preface, I always tell people this because I work with a lot of students. I asked a student, I said, hey, if I said, come work with me and I'll give you $100 or $50 an hour to do some TikToks for me, would you take the money? Or if I said, come shadow me and be everywhere with me and I can introduce you to people? And they said, I'll just take the money. All they kept focused on is the money. I said, don't just focus on the money, Yes, you would make money. I'm not saying I wouldn't pay you at all, but don't just focus on trying to get money and stay home. I said it's all about the experience. So I work with a company that, you know, pays really well. Like when I go into these different classes and stuff. And I remember when Ellen was like, I can bring you on as an assistant. And in my head, I was like, oh man, assistant, right? But I'm like, it stung a little bit when I'm like, assistant, but I'm like, well, this is what I need. And at the time, I'm like, it ain't really about the money up front, but the opportunities and the people that I've met along the process of just being with her and around her has changed my life in so many ways, right? Where it's like, without me humbling myself and being an assistant, or I tell people that all the time, right? Where like I might have this huge movement going on, millions of people watching me, but when you get around somebody who can really teach you something, you carrying bags, you carrying golf clubs, you in the sit, like whatever it take, right? And some rooms,
Teach you how to swing one of those.
right, for real. Most rooms I walk in with Ellen, like I'm the you know, the person that's assisting, that's helping, right? So whatever needs to get done, and that's how I'm like learning so much with Julio, right? The things I learned about him and how he's impatient, it's like, okay, all right, well, why? Why should I tear it down? Well, convince me otherwise. Okay, I did. Okay, now I'm willing to help you even more, right? So when I'm around Julian on his projects, I'm just shadowing him and following him around, you know, so.
Julio's got a lot of projects. He owns a 58-unit apartment project in that area that was built in 2017 from the ground up, which I'm trying to sell if anybody's interested in the property. It's 100% occupied and absolutely cash flowing, but hard to sell apartments. It's hard to get finance.
Yeah, finance.
But there is an assumable loan on this project. It's pretty attractive.
That helps.
It does. We're still need a $5 million infusion to hit the
Big
numbers.
money, big money.
Yeah.
Well, any other updates or projects we're working on?
Plenty, but we need to save some for the
Yeah,
next episode.
next episode.
Yeah.
Well, what should we, I think some things we should ask, like our listeners to provide feedback for. I feel like this could be something new with the live audience. One thing would be, who would you want to see sitting next to us?
Yeah.
Someone from Detroit in real estate that's making an impact that you think would fit our show, and or someone we don't know, you know. And also, what are some other things that we could use feedback on? That's one thing we didn't really get from season one is a lot of feedback.
Questions.
Because it was just us. Yeah, what are questions you
Questions,
have? That's a
yep,
great
yep.
one, yeah. What questions do you have in general for any of us? We all have very diverse real estate backgrounds and experiences. Ellen knows a lot about the legal side from your paralegal experience at the
Yes.
beginning of your career, and
Which has
you
been
did a lot of
instrumental.
title. Did you work at a title
I ran a
company as
title
well?
company.
You ran a title. So title is so important. You don't really realize it until you get into the minutia of real estate, but the paperwork behind the building is effectively as strong as the building,
And
if
it
not
takes
stronger.
It takes a lot of brain power to
Yeah.
figure out how to clear it up, especially in the city. It's a special anomaly that's particularly difficult.
Yeah. And Trey's got great recent experience working with the land bank.
Oh, I've been buying some property from the city, or at least I know how to do it. I can teach somebody to go through that process if they want a commercial property.
You don't have to hire a realtor to find real estate. You can look out there all by yourself, and there's the land bank, private auctions, all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
give us your questions. We'd love to answer and have a deeper relationship with our audience. So that's pretty much it for today. I don't know how to wrap up a live.
Wrap up the
All
wrap.
right, I got you. So look.
I think Trey should wrap us up.
So, and if you wanna, no pun intended, all these, right? So if you wanna listen to this, I'm gonna include it. So I'm gonna go back, see how the audio sound in the lobby. We'll go from here and try out new things and adapt from there. But you can listen to the audio. I'm gonna include the link. It'll be linked on Spotify and everything. And make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to ask your questions, because this is where you learn the most. You have 3 people in front of you that can bring in other different people that can teach you whatever you need to know. It's about providing value. So don't forget to ask your questions and make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you. We out. So.